Okay, so hi everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. My name is Lorraine and I'm the project manager at Building African Fashion. So Building African Fashion is an organization dedicated to creating coalitions to build Africa's fashion sector. And we do so through different initiatives that you can learn about by checking out looking up our website or any of our social medias. And our website is buildingafricanfashion.com. And also on Instagram, we're at Building African Fashion. So we do we build these coalitions through different initiatives, like I said, and today we will be doing so through our Permute sessions, which are sessions whereby we have conversations with fashion industry players across the globe. And today we are joined by renowned Ghanaian designer David. And in this session, I'll be asking David a series of questions to delve into his creative journey and explore the intricacies of African fashion design. So, yeah, thank you for joining and let's get started. So, my first question was for David is I wanted to ask David if you can tell us about your early life and what initially sparked your interest in fashion design.
Okay. Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, the team Building African Fashion, for getting me. And it's always a joy to be able to share your story to people because stories inspire people. My early life, I'm not one of the designers that started very early and said, oh, they grew up around tailors or nah. I always wanted to be an architect as a young boy. I wanted to be an architect. That's what I always wanted to do. So schooling and everything, my main focus was to be an architect. But along the way, I couldn't get it done because I lost my dad along the way, and it was very challenging to continue. So I stopped. Then I enter into secondhand clothing selling. So because I used to like clothes a lot, but my focus was to be an architect. So it all started when I couldn't continue, uh, doing what I love to do. So I moved into the second part where I could afford. So I enter into secondhand clothing. I go to the market, pick secondhand clothing, and clean it up, press it, and sell it. So it started with selling. Then it got to a point where a lot of people were interested in it, and some of them you go, it doesn't fit them well. So in my search of getting it to fit them very well and getting the ones that they will love the most, I sat down one time and I said, why don't I just go and study and make it a career out of it? So that was when I decided. I come from a place in Ghana called Kumasi. It's actually the second largest city in Ghana. So that's where I was raised. And at that time, it was very difficult to find a fashion school there. So I had to move to Accra, that is the capital of Ghana, and find a school, which I did. So my early life was not more fashion. It was I wanted to be an architect, and along the way I couldn't get it done, so I had to channel it to a different paths, and here I am.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. And I'm sorry for your loss.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah. So what would you say, like who and what have been your biggest influences in your journey?
my biggest influence. The number one would be my mom. My mom has been my inspiration, has influenced me so much because I am where I am. Aside God being the one I look up to, my mom is someone who have sacrificed so much for me, provided for me in every way. So she'll be, although she's not in the fashion industry, but she's my biggest influence. Then when it comes into the fashion industry, there's a woman in Ghana called Joyce Abebio. She is the principal of the fashion school I attended, and she's one of the biggest inspiration that when I decided to embark on fashion, I did a thorough research on her and the things that she has been able to accomplish as a fashion designer before starting the fashion school. So my mom and Joyce Abio will be my biggest inspiration and those that have influenced me in my journey.
So my next question would be, how did your education at JACCD Design Institute shape your career and your creative vision?
I think I would say that everything I know now is as a result of what JCCD Design Institute of Africa did to me. I think it's a place where if if you are willing and want to make a career out of fashion, everyone there is ready and open to show you the way and and give you a career in it. It all boils down to how serious you are and how ready as a student you want to be, or the kind of designer you want to become. So I didn't know anything about, like I said, fashion earlier. I wanted to be an architect. So I learned everything at JCCD because the practicals, the business of fashion, it's not just sewing. I know a lot of schools focus on just, you know, design and sewing. But when it comes to the business side of fashion, it's kind of limited. It has a platform that launch you to different platform whilst we're in school. I remember it was it was one of our school projects that landed me a Vogue Italy cover, like a magazine feature, not cover. So it was a school project that I did whilst in school that got me a feature on Vogue Italy. So I'll say JCCD has been one of the pillars that has shaped my career and creative vision.
Oh, okay. So also, when you were sharing your bio, you happened to mention that you've won some out fashion awards, and you've also been a finalist in various prestigious fashion awards. I mean, fashion fans must have been pivotal moments for you. So how did these achievements impact your career?
I would say the Make Fashion Award was one platform that helped a lot because when you finish as a fashion student, when you finish school, there are so many things you want to do. There are so many vision design that you want to bring out, and if you are not financially capable, you cannot, or the world will not see what you are made of. So that's how as an early stage as a designer, I look out for those opportunities, fashion fans and these, because these are people that believe in the younger generation that invest. So I apply for this and financially they help us financially, although it wouldn't be enough, but with the help that I got from there was what I was able to use to launch my first collection, and winning it was not just the money. I had the opportunity. I remember when we won the Met Fashion Awards, they took us to Dubai. Afterwards, we did a couple of projects in Dubai as well. So it was a platform that opened my mind to a different world of fashion and got me to meet very important people in the fashion industry. And I would say that it gave me a mindset that what I know in Ghana is little compared to what is outside there. So it's a platform that helped me in my career. So I'm forever grateful to these platforms that I entered.
Okay. So, like as you mentioned, you're a designer from Ghana, and you've also obviously had some opportunities in the international arena. So, I wanted to ask you, what are some unique challenges and opportunities you've encountered as a Ghanaian designer in the international stage?
Okay, I think it will be a challenge that a lot of African designers face. I remember in March I was in Paris Fashion Week for Triannoy trade show. And, I had a lot of buyers coming in. And most of the time when they get to African designers and you're trying to present your collection to them and the nice things that you have, they still kind of have a doubt in it. And when you ask them what is the doubt or why the hesitation, all you hear is most African designers don't meet when you place an order, they don't meet their deadline, and finishing is also very poor. So I think the bad image that some designers have portrayed is one challenge is that I would say I have encountered, because I had an opportunity to meet a lot of buyers that were interested in my pieces, but I had to convince them that I will be able to deliver it at the time that I give. So I think a lot of buyers out there don't trust African designers to be able to deliver on their word. And I think it's because of past experiences. So this is one challenge is that a lot, it's not only me, a lot of designers face now, because I think now it's getting better, because finishing has become now, if you don't want to make it in-house and you have the money, you can do production anywhere in the world. So it's changing, but still that notion of not delivering on time, not meeting quality control is something that's is affecting. Then number two would be, as an emerging brand, we might not have the financial muscles to place fabric in quantity. So let's say when you release a collection and you've placed an order of fabric and you're not able to place more, if buyers want the same item and you go and place it, the reason is because most of our pieces are either recycled pieces or hand woven. And I'm saying the financial muscle in terms of the hand woven one, because when you go to the market, you buy the thread and start weaving. If you don't have the money to buy it in quantity, you go back again and you will not get the same thread, or you get the same thread, but the colors will change. So these are a few challenges that I would say. And I think the third one will also be something that a lot of African designers face there. At I'm getting visa to go outside when you're invited for a show is very difficult, that a lot of African brands face. And I'm not sure here is where we'll find solution, but if there's a way the ministry can do something about that in getting, because I've had an opportunity to travel with some Nigerian designers and they complain the same thing, that they got their visa a day before traveling, and these are inconvenient things that a lot of African brands face. So that I would say these are few challenges that as a young designer, these are challenges that I've encountered.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So my next question is, how do you incorporate elements of Ghanaian culture and heritage into your designs?
Okay, the brand Boyedoe, has been like at the forefront of promoting African heritage, and that is what the brand stands for. So it is very easy, because we believe that there's so much positivity in Africa that over the years is only the negative side that the Western world has seen. We are rich in culture, we are rich in colors that most of them have not been able to see. And as a brand that is deeply rooted in African heritage, we try as much as possible that we build our collection on the African soil. And like I said, the brand is deeply, when you come to Ghana, there's a bird called Sankofa. Sankofa is a bird that, anytime you see the bird, she might be looking forward, but her eye is always at the back. So he wants to change the future, but at the same time, the mind is on the past. So we are trying to, forge a new identity by not forgetting our heritage, our culture, the things that our forefathers have gone through. We want to highlight it and also to show the world the future of Africa. So that is what the brand is made of, and we incorporate this in through our craft, making sure that we use African fabrics, and also most of our practices, our production is in-house. So we have a team of local artisans that weave our fabric, and we have in-house tailors that make them. So everything is in-house. It's Africa. I've said that one thing I want to maintain as a brand is no matter where we get to, our production house has to be in Africa. It doesn't have to be Ghana, but it has to be in Africa. And that is what we fight to maintain.
Okay, thank you. That's really recommendable, and I didn't know that about that part. So at least I've learned something new. So my next question would be, could you walk us through your creative process from let's say concept to final products, and maybe highlight the key stages and tell us how you find inspiration for your designs. Yeah.
With a creative process, it comes in so many ways, but I'll start with probably if I have okay, let me use that to talk about our new collection, Rebuild the Rain. I'm a Christian, so I was reading the Bible one time and I bumped into a statement Isaiah made about building the desolation, rebuilding the rain, and I look at that and I look at the brand. That is what the brand stands for. The brand is about repairing, it's about deconstruction and reconstruction, picking old things and making them new. So as soon as I saw that scripture, I just knew that I can create something from it. So there's always a thought first, and when that thought comes, I we start with the questions of who is going to wear the piece. Because after getting the story, I start with who is going to wear the piece, because the client is at the center of our design. I always tell my people that designers are like so designing for clients. You know, there's difference between an artist and a designer. An artist creates things that are inspired by himself, but the designer, your focus is the clientele, because someone is going to buy the piece. You are not going to design for yourself. You're not the one going to wear it. So always there has to be a client in mind. And after making sure that we know who we are going to design for, who is going to buy it, we delve into why and how and where. Where is the person going to wear the piece to? Because we have fashion season. So if you are designing, let's say our spring summer, we have to be keen about choice of colors and where we want them to wear it to. So after all these front and back, we start by conceptualizing the design. We move on to sketches. After sketches, we do sample pieces. After sample pieces, if it's okay, then we move to launching of production. So it's not really a long process, but the main focus is getting the design and making sure that we know who is going to buy it and where they are going to wear it.
Okay, thank you. And so earlier on you mentioned how you really loved your experience at JACCD because they didn't teach you just the creative side of being a fashion designer, but also the, you know, business side. So my next question would be, personally, in your own experience, how would you advise someone, or how do you balance your creativity with the creative process with the commercial aspect of running a fashion brand? Like, how do you reach that balance?
It's a very, very difficult thing to do if you are working alone. At the beginning, that was how it was. I was just doing everything. But now, because we are expanding, uh, we have two partners. We've actually opened our doors to investors to come in to be able to help us in some of these areas, because if you want to build a global brand, it's not something that you can do to like together by running the creative side and also the commercial side. It's something you can never do. Even if you can do, you need people to be able to assist you. So it's something that's Now we have people that are in charge of branding, then marketing side. So at the beginning, I was doing everything myself, but I got to a point I realized that I can't do it by myself, no matter the information that I have. But it's very, very important as a designer or creative lead, you should know so that when you get people on board, you'll be able to tell them this and this or have an idea about it. Because if you don't know, whatever decision they bring, because you don't know, you might say, okay. So something that's personally you need to take it serious and be involved at the same time doing the creative side. So it's something I blend, but I'm just hoping that there will be a time that I'll just focus on designing and I'll get the right people that I can trust them with. So for now, I still work together with them.
Okay, thank you. So my next question is, based on the research I've done and even whatever information you normally provide on your platforms, we can see that ethical fashion is at the core of your brand. Can you share specific practices or innovations you've implemented to ensure sustainability in your brand? Like earlier on, how you mentioned you use recycled and have woven materials. Could
Okay, when we talk about the subject of sustainability, is very broad. It's not just the recycle that make it sustainable, because some people think that the fact that you recycle old clothes make your brand sustainable. That is not all. Sustainable practice goes a long way by who is involved, the working condition of the people who are making the clothes. So with the ethical side, you see over 60% of our pieces are hand woven. And when you look at this hand woven, we work together with local artisans. So when you come to Ghana, in the northern part of Ghana, that's where we have a team of 5 women. We started with 5, but we're hoping to be able to expand it and get more people involved. So we have 5 women local artisans that we've employed, and they weave this fabric for us. So, and we make sure that they are well paid. So it's not that we are taking advantage of them. These people are there, that they are on payroll. And we make sure that where they are is very safe and clean, that they can work comfortably. So the comfortability of the workers is also key when it comes to sustainable practice. That's being transparent in your dealings. And when you also come here, because of recycle, like I said, recycled denim, for instance, when we pick it from the markets, we make sure the way we clean it, eh, we have like a big space where we dig like water, so not wasting too much water and not wasting too much electricity also is all part of sustainable practices. And we have a means of water that we dig to wash the denim as it comes in. So aside just recycle, the practices behind it and also the people that are involved in it. And aside that, when we are done with the collection, most of the time we do collaboration with photographers, with models, to make sure we convey our campaign message out there. So getting people involved to us is what sustainability is, and making sure that they are comfortable. It's not just that when we talk about collaboration, you can do collaboration with someone and still pay the person. So it's not that you're taking advantage of the person. No. Anybody that we've done a collaboration with, the necessary money that we are supposed to pay the person, we do. Because it's one of the things, a key thing, because we don't want to get to a point where in our career someone say, oh, this person took advantage of us. That's something that we never want to be associated with us. So we make sure that everybody that we work with gets the payment that they deserve.
Okay, thank you. So, and what challenges can you say you've experienced when trying to maintain these ethical standards that you've set for yourself and your brand?
I think recently will be but we have solved it. But this is a problem that we faced before, where when we started, where they were weaving the thing was an open place. And I remember we got an order, a big order, and it was rainy season. So when they started making started weaving. It started raining for about continuous for 3 days, and they couldn't. And because of that, there was delay. So we had to find a way to build like, and when you know how this weaving is done, most of the time the distance where the machine is set and the distance is very long. So we had to buy um roof and get some wood to build a structure where we will cover them. So I think that will be one challenge that it was very difficult in communicating with the buyers. Although we came in an agreement where we kind of had to compensate them for the delay and that. So this is one of the challenges because, like I said, the financial muscle to be able to do things faster and quickly as an emerging designer is something that's will always create a challenge, and that is one challenge that we found ourselves in.
Oh, okay. So, given that you've been in the industry for a while now, you obviously know how fast-paced and highly competitive the industry is. So, what keeps you motivated to continue innovating in such an environment?
I kind of love competition because I think competition kind of put us ahead. It challenges us. It make because when you see someone is doing something amazing, as a brand, you don't want to sit there. You are either inspired or you are challenged to be able to do that. So I love like a competitive environment because it keeps you on your toe, and not in a competition that in a bad way. Because I also know that when there's too much competition and there's not a healthy competition, it kind of creates chaos and 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 anger setting. So we try as much as possible to stay true to our brand ethos, to our vision, because we are we are on a way of making sure that we reduce waste, number one, and also made the African culture to the rest of the world through our pieces. So we stay true to our identity, and we make sure that most of our pieces that we create, people can just look at it and tell that, okay, this is a Boyedoe piece, because we want to be known by silhouette, not just by logo. We don't want someone to look at the pieces, open the tag and see that this is Boyedoe pieces first. No, we want to get to a point where just by looking at the piece, you will know that this is a Boyedoe piece. So because of this ideology, what keeps us to be able to do something that is new at the same time is connected to our brand ethos, connected to our silhouette that we will try to let the world see.
Okay. So in an earlier question that I'd asked, you said that most people stereotype African designers as being late to deliver or not delivering at all. Are there any other misconceptions people have about African fashion designers and the African fashion industry as a whole? And how do you address them through your work?
Eh, I think if I have the chance, or if I get to a place where I have like a very strong voice, we should be called designers, not really African designers. We are representing Africa, but a designer is a designer. The same way an artist is an artist. It's not really an African artist, or like I think outside with recently Whiskey made a statement like that, that he's an artist, he's not an Afrobeat artist. Not because he doesn't respect Afrobeat. He respects Afrobeat, but he's an artist that do Afrobeat. And I think that is one thing that most of the time just they cage us by just calling us African designers. And I think that is one thing that if I have a voice, I'll fight for, because we are designers. We are not just African designers. We are African designers that represent Africa, but we are designers. So I think it's one thing that if I have the voice, I will try and change.
Okay, thank you. So, how do you envision your brand contributing to the global perception of fashion and culture? And what legacy do you hope to leave behind as a designer and creative lead?
Yeah, our vision is so clear, and we want to be able to stay true to it, not divert in any way. We are at the forefront of reducing waste. We do everything we do. When you come to our studio, we don't just recycle pieces and throw the remaining piece. When you look at our collections closely, if you pick a jeans, for instance, you see that We have something we are doing with the waistband. We are doing something with the hem. We are doing something with the side strip. So every single piece that we pick, we make sure that it's going, and not just going, because after we sell the pieces, we tell our client that maybe after 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, you are tired and you want to dump it, bring it back to us. We will do something about it. So we try as much as possible to reduce waste, and that is a legacy that we can't do this in ourselves or alone, but at least the little that we can do is one thing that, as a brand, we want to be known for, that a brand that came to fight the battle of waste, to reduce it, and at the same time, not just waste as waste, creating desirable pieces from waste. So I think it's one thing that, as a brand, we want to leave it, and at the same time, we want to push our culture, push African fabrics to 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 a higher height. Because most of the time when people talk about African fabric, all a lot of people think about is print. And when I look at print are not even print in Africa. They print in Netherlands and somewhere and call it African fabric. Those are not African fabric. African fabrics are the ones that when you go to Nigeria, there's a lot of fabrics that are made in Africa. So African fabric necessarily doesn't mean that it's print. So we want to be able to project African culture through our textiles, and not just Ghana only, because our next collection, we are working on getting fabric from different part of Africa. So these are the two things, making sure that we eradicate as much waste as we can, and also pushing the African culture through our textiles and fabric.
What has been your most memorable runway show or collection to date, and why does it stand out to you?
I think that would be Wabi Sabi collection. Our private show unveiling was one of, because of the people that we were able to get, and also we were able to sell, because no matter how great a collection is, if you're not able to sell, I don't see the value of it. We were able to sell, and it's still, people still buy it today. And I think the second would be when we first did Portugal Fashion Week. It was one show that I would say is one of our most memorable show. I think it would be more, but if I have the chance, I would say Arise. I did Arise under 2030 in 2020. Arise Fashion Week 2 was one show that I so love because of the way everything went. So I would say Arise Fashion Week, Portugal Fashion Week, and our own private show.
What advice would you give to young aspiring fashion designers who look up to you and your achievements?
I would say they should stay true to their vision. Pick a niche. You can't do everything. You can't be a designer that today you are doing corset, tomorrow you are doing this, you are doing this. No, pick something that you can do, and make sure that you do it, and do it so well, and keep doing it until you are seen. Because when we started, I kept creating for 2 years, and nobody knew me then, but I was still designing. It was difficult financially. It was difficult, but every moment I got, I was just creating. I was just creating. So I did a lot of sketches put down. So when I decided to do collection, I had the money to do collection. It wasn't difficult to come by. So I would say that they should stay true to their show, what they want to do. If it's bags you want to do, stay true to it and do bags. When you do bags so well, you can now introduce jackets together with the hat. So stay true. So if it's this thing that you want to do, stay true. And another thing I would say that they should, you can't, if you are starting, you can't work like 9 to 5 job. You have to work like 24 hours, 20 hours, 12 hours, because nobody knows you here. And before you can get noticed, you need to put in the work and put in the time. So I think that's what I would say to them, to stay true to what they believe and hit it very hard until they are seen.
Okay, thank you so much for answering my questions. So now I'm gonna hand it over to the audience. The first one is from Teresa. She's asking if you could kindly name the platform again.
Is it the Make Fashion Awards or? Okay, I think
Okay.
I did 3 Make Fashion Awards. Make Fashion Awards is the one I won. Make Fashion Awards is actually like a private like fashion awards. I think the organizer is from Egypt. She's a senator in Egypt, so she worked with like African first ladies, and I think their project is more about how women empowerment, how to raise funds for to fight against infertility and that. So I think their page is Make Fashion Awards. So when you go to Instagram, you can see them. They work with a lot of African first ladies, and Accra More Fashion Fund is in Ghana. I don't know whether it's limited to only Ghanaians, but Accra More Future Fashion Fund is like something that they put together. Then Vlisco Fashion Fund, I think is in most of Africa. So these are the three platforms that um I did. So Vlisco, they do it, I think, annually. They open it up for people to apply, and when you get in, so I don't know about the Accra More. I think it's limited to only Ghana, but I don't know about for Vlisco, it's open to everyone, and Make Fashion Awards is also open to everyone. And it's not just fashion. I think they do it in media. They do some for media and and sports too.
So our next question is from Odoche. She says, on the perception of African brands not being able to deliver on time or meet other demands, is it something we should work to overcome as a continent and fit into the current production models? Or do you think brands will be served best by building a production and fulfillment process that best suits them?
Yeah, I think if you see if it's difficult and financially, if you are not strong, you might not be able to build your own production house. But it's very, very important that brands should be able to build their own production places, because if you are foreseeing it, you can be able to tell. And also there are good production houses that if you have the money to pay them, you can in Africa and outside. That is if you want. But I think it's something that the same way, they have this perception for so long. We need to be able to prove them wrong. We need to be able to deliver on time. We need to be able to, make sure that before we send the things out there, it's clean. That's why you need to have a production manager who will make sure that all these things are you send it outside. So I think it's something that we need to pay attention to that.
Okay. So the next question is from Taco. She says she has two questions. Her first question is, what African brand would you love to collaborate with and why?
Wow. It will be very difficult to pick. I think if I'm picking from one African brand, okay, I think for being a Ghanaian, there's one brand I've always loved to do a collaboration with, that is Chrissy Brown. But aside Ghana, if I have the chance to pick someone else, or probably maybe one from each country, I think another brand that I would love to do a collaboration would be Ejiro, Ejiro in Nigeria, Ejiro Mostafiri from Nigeria. And the reason is because I love these two brands. I love their aesthetic. I love how, these two women, if you check their brand, you'll see that they are centered on women empowerment. I was raised by my mom, and my mom, made me, let's say honor, not because I don't honor fathers, I do honor my father, but, growing up with my mom and seeing the thing that she did, that's the reason why these two brands stand out for me, because their brand is centered on women empowerment, building women, and that is what I want to be affiliated with. So these are the two brands that if I have the chance to collaborate, I will do it. And I do have a good relationship with them as well. So who knows, maybe in the years to come, it might come on.
What brands are currently on your radar across the continent that you think people should know more about?
I think one brand that I recently discovered I love the most, that I think people she has not really gotten the recognition that she needs to get, is a Nigerian brand called Floyd Cardigan. They do knitwear, and knitwear is something that you hardly see, although it's in a lot of Africa, but it's not something that is really loud that a lot of people see it, and most of her pieces are very amazing and fascinating. So I think she will be, because I think she do amazing. And another one would be a very good friend of mine. Is also Nigerian, TJ Hu. I think, yeah, TJ Hu, and because I love his pieces because he has architectural background and most of his pieces are well cut, structured, and I love it so much. So I think these two brands.
Africa has rich textile culture. Why are you embracing a global artistic view rather than being an African designer?
I think I think the question kind of answered, because my view on being a global designer is not because I want to forsake being an African designer. I say that I love what Africa have as fabric texture and that, and I think it's not seen well, because when Louis Vuitton has done collection using African Ghanaian kente and all that, we don't call it Ghanaian kente. When they do it, we accept it, and these are brands that they started from somewhere. They are from a country. When you are mentioning LV now, you are not going to say LV is from an Italian brand or a French brand. It's a brand. So I'm not saying that I don't want to be an African designer. I am an African. I am a designer from Africa. And if you do a trial research about the brand Boyedoe, in our bio, I've said it in it. I said, from Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, he said we are African not because we were born in Africa. We are African because Africa was born in us. So wherever we are, we represent Africa. But we need to be able to receive what we deserve, not just by limits. Because when they put us on African designers, there's like a criteria where we are supposed to follow. No, we deserve. Now we have an opportunity where we have British Vogue editor-in-chief. The one that passed was a Ghanaian. The one that is sitting on now is a Nigerian. We need to be given that platform where we deserve in the fashion ecosystem. So not just tagging ourselves as African designers. No. So I'm not trying to dodge being an African. I am an African by heart. I love Africa. And that is why my production, I've had a chance to do production outside Ghana, but I've turned it down because I have a strong team at home because if I take production outside there, they are the one who is going to enjoy the money. I'm going to pay money to them. I can pay the money to people in Africa and do. So I'm not running away from being an African designer. I am an African and I will never run away from being an African. I just believe that they are supposed to call us designers who are from Africa, not just African designers.
Okay, I think I understand you now. You just don't want them to put you in a certain box.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So the next question is, are there any fashion networking groups you could recommend for upcoming fashion designers?
Yes, I think there's a group called, that's a network. Yeah, there's a group called Canis on, I think, Instagram. Canis is from, the full meaning is Creative African Nezos. Creative African Nezos is financed by Afrexim Bank, and Afrexim Bank is like a trade bank within Africa. And I think this is a platform that, as a young designer, if you're able to get in, it will help you, because these are the platform that opened doors for us to be on Portugal Fashion Week, to be in Paris for Trinoy Show. So I think that is one platform I recommend. And I think there are others like African Fashion App. African Fashion App is also a platform that if you're able to get on, they will also help you to be able to financially, and other platforms outside that they will finance some of them, and some of them you have to pay. So I think African Fashion App and Canis, Creative African Exos, you can check them on Instagram.
Thank you for honoring our invitation and for all the insight you've given us today for this session. And yes, it was very lovely having you.
Thank you so much. And it was amazing having you as well. Thank you for the questions and thank you so much.